1492, ship technology changed and allowed ships to sail farther and out to sea rather than hugging the shoreline. Here is an image of the caravel. It has a single deck and 3 masts, and makes it faster and more maneuverable than any ship before. Now, these are the ships that allowed people to travel across the ocean rather than across the coastline, and Christopher Columbus decided to use this technology to hunt for silk and gold in the east. Now, Spain had been trading for silk and gold from Asia for a long time, but they had to go over land. Think of the Marco Polo route. And they had to pay a middleman, the Ottoman Empire, to go from Europe to Asia, and that became very expensive. So most Western European countries were looking for another way to get to Asia and get those products. So they thought maybe by going across the ocean. Christopher Columbus said that he could do it because he believed that the distance between Spain and Asia was only 3,500 miles. Now everyone knew it was more like 11,000 miles, but they were so eager to get those products that they were willing to take a gamble on Columbus that he was right. When Columbus sailed and landed in what is now the Bahamas, he was convinced that he had arrived in India and he had made it across the world. But in fact, he had not. He called the people he met Indians, believing that he was in India, and nothing that anyone ever said convinced him that he had not gotten there. Now, Columbus came back from North America convinced that he had found Asia, and he broadcasted his discovery far and wide. He advertised that the place was full of gold, gentle inhabitants, and therefore it was very easy riches. Now, European powers are pretty weak militarily and financially, and they could really use the gold. So Columbus is sent back on a second voyage with 17 ships to make sure that he really had discovered land, to settle, to take control of the people, labor, and land in order to get a profit. This is Columbus's first voyage, and he lands in the Bahama Islands and then continues on to Hispaniola. Hispaniola is the place where the Spanish Empire established the first colony. Hispaniola is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, Hispaniola was populated by a group of people called the Taino, and the Taino people in 1492 numbered around 300,000. By 1510, there were only 33,000, and by 1550, there were only 500 Taino. The remaining 500 Taino were used as slaves, carried onto the shores, and became disease carriers to other Native American groups. The Europeans see the Taino deaths as inconvenient because they really want laborers. So eventually, to replace the Native American laborers, they bring African laborers, which we'll talk about later on in the course. Part of this process where Europeans come to North America and they bring diseases is because in Europe, Europeans lived with the domesticated animals, cows, sheep, pigs, and developed diseases because they lived in close contact with those animals. Diseases like the flu, like chickenpox, like measles. Native Americans didn't have those domesticated animals, and therefore they did not have those diseases. So North America, after the arrival of Columbus, developed New World epidemics. That's when European diseases ended up coming to North America, ended up killing many, many Native Americans. Something like 90 to 95% of Native Americans were killed through diseases and, of course, through warfare. It's largely indiscriminate among Native American peoples, and it's largely because the Native Americans do not have a natural immunity that Europeans did. European arrival also brought something that we call Columbian exchange, and that's the trade of food, plants, animals, diseases over the Atlantic. Now, the Columbian exchange, named after, in part, Columbus, is about the transmission of those goods to America and vice versa. So there are North American goods that go back to Europe. So Europeans recognized quite quickly that Native Americans had superior crops, and they realized that they're much more efficient, that they produce more, and so they quickly bring those crops back to Europe. They bring back corn, they bring back potatoes because they're better than wheat. They also bring back cassava and peanuts to Africa. And this enables European and African populations to explode. More food means bigger families, so Europeans not only have access to more land, but they also have a growing population that will need that land. So Europe gets double rewards, more land and more people, and Native Americans get decreasing land and decreasing number of people.